People say, I can't grow things, I have a black thumb. My first response is always, I'll bet you cannot guess how many plants I have killed. You can't be a bad gardener. That is impossible. It's your opportunity to observe and engage and step into a world that is incredibly embracing, incredibly welcoming. What do I spend my time doing now? I'm talking for the plants. Today, we are in my garden, which is known as Marshouse because way out there is the salt marsh. I came to this property about 23 years ago. It was lawn and invasives. That was about it. So the adventure began. The bottom line is create conditions conducive to life. In other words, no pesticides, no killing. Creating conditions conducive to life is basically means making habitat, right? It's making your yard a place where as many organisms as possible can thrive. And that includes you and your kids and your pets. What is habitat? It is food, shelter, and water. So as we go through my property today, we'll be looking at how I am playing with ideas and sharing them with you for how to do that at all different scales, from absolutely free to maybe a little bit more complicated. I dreamed of having a pond, and I have one. It's very small, but it does the trick. I've got turtles, there are ducks that drop by, there are all kinds of things happening, but not everybody has space or resources for a pond. So what can you do that's well within your grasp is you can make a bird bath or a bee beach. A friend of mine, a wonderful artist, John Paul Felipe, made this that I call these bee beaches because bees have very short legs and they need water too. So how do you provide something that a bee could actually walk right up to and get a little sip? They like a little bit of mud, wasps use mud. So I keep this dripping all the time. It is the place where I can grow plants that like it kind of wet because it's always dripping out, but that's what keeps the wild animals, the wild pollinators and everything coming to this water. They hear the dripping, they know it's fresh. A bird feeder is nice, but bird feeders do not sustain birds. Bird feeders sustain you because they bring them close to you and you can learn more about them, but really what sustains birds is you're providing water for them in the winter that isn't frozen and it is clean, and providing shelter for them in the winter, and providing food in the way of seed heads and all the things in your garden that you left standing and you didn't whack them all back in the fall. All of the things that our gardens create, all of the biomass, we're calling it yard waste. Think of one thing that nature makes that is actually waste. I doubt that you can because I don't think that exists. Only humans create waste. A major goal for nature-based landscaping in my world is closing the loop on your property. So what does it mean to close the loop? It means that everything that grows here never, ever leaves. None of this is treated as waste, and all of it is a precious resource. So what are you going to do with all of this when you cut your beds back, when your trees are dropping branches, when a tree dies? What do you do with it all? As we go, there are all kinds of different examples of what I do with biomass to solve my landscape design problems as well. It is our job to create places that are beautiful for other humans because they think that this looks messy. And we're saying not at all. This is a relationship that I have with this place, and my job is to dress her so she is looking her best when humans come to visit. There's a phrase called cues to care, which means what are the things that you're doing in your landscape to show you care? All these things that we can all do that not only give us joy, they promote habitat, they promote biodiversity, they close the loop, and they're gosh darn beautiful. So, a super simple way to manage all of the trees that are considered messy is to create habitat piles with them. In this case, I have taken the twigs that fall incessantly out of these native cherries and formed them into this little tent structure because it's super easy to do, and every time I walk by, I just pick up a few and I stick them up there. And I came to realize that there was a little wren that was always hopping in here just for a little shelter, protection, but I think it's probably also full of bugs, so she could have a snack. So I named it the Wren Tent. Thickets and piles of sticks like this are especially useful to small birds because they actually evolved in line with shrubs so that their wingspans are just right size to flit between the branches of our native shrubs. If you start whacking away at your native shrubs and like opening them up, removing dead branches, doing all of that, you've actually removed their capacity to shelter small birds. Leave the dead branches in shrubs or take dead branches that are raining down from your trees and build a wren tent. It's actually less work, not more. What do you do as your trees grow and they start to shade out your paths and your paths can't support grass anymore very well? Well, what you do is find a really creative use for trees that have died on your property, because when I bought this property, it was absolutely filled with invasives and there were a lot of dead trees in there. So we started making log walls and started cutting them into what is known as tree cookies. So you cut a slice of a tree and you put it in the soil. And what happens over time? Well, yeah, they fall apart. But in doing so, they're feeding the biome. So I take a slice, 3 to 6 inches thick, depending on how much soil you have, and you plop it down where you want them. We lay them all out and then take a sharp spade and mark around it. Dig out the space that you marked, shave off the sod, put a little stone dust in the bottom. You could put sand in, or you can put nothing at all in. And then you just pack it down and keep going. If you're doing an intensive one, you can actually dig out the entire area, put your cookies in the shape you want, and then take the bits of sod that you have scraped off and place them back between your cookies. That's another way to do it. It all works. There's a cherry tree here, and it fell down, but it's still alive. It's up there, it's still alive. And we wanted to keep it, but at the same time, its root ball was sticking up in the air, and walking over it had turned this whole area into mud. Inspired by what they do in national parks called corduroy roads, where there are muddy spots where there's a lot of traffic, they lay thin tree trunks down, and usually they use cedar, and I happen to have a lot of cedars here, so we just miniaturized that, and it's holding up. The pressure is taken by the cedar branches and the grass can grow. Our landfills are filled with methane-producing yard resource. If you keep it on your land, you don't have to buy anything back. So you're not paying to have it taken away, and you're not paying for something with another carbon footprint to come back into your yard, which in more cases than not is bringing in something that you really don't want. Give it what it made, because that's its favorite thing to eat. And the fact is, you weren't going to eat this. So why can't you share it with every other life form that depends on these leaves and these flowers and these roots? If there's enough food for them, it all evens out. They'll eat the bugs that are eating your plants, and ultimately we'll have lots of insects to feed the birds, because the birds are our indicator species. Hear that? That's a crow.
They heard you talking.
Yeah, they're like that. We've been sold a lot of stuff. We kind of got to break that habit. So many people look at a magazine, that's what they want. But if that's what they get, then they feel compelled to keep it like that forever. Nature really doesn't want to be held in place. That's very resource intensive. How can we get away from the really wasting resource by working with what nature wants to do and not against it? I am changing as a landscape designer through these years. I do not necessarily want to be the one who has to tell a place that it's going to look like that, and it never gets to change. I can't do that anymore. It is a process. Every day in your garden is different. Every year is different. Step into that I hope it's a message that other people can embrace, that you're not failing. You're just living an incredible adventure.